Hello and welcome to A Piece of Cake, Utah. My name is Katherine O'Donnell, I'm your host, and today we are going to be doing some fun cake pops. For those of you who don't know what a cake pop is, basically it's a ball of cake that's put onto a little stick like this and dipped in chocolate. How much better can you get with that? Okay, so I'm going to show you how to basically assemble one and then a couple of fun techniques to decorate them. So first off, we're going to start off with just some cake. And how you get it from this to look something like this. So we're just going to open up our cake here, and this is just a regular cake mix. It's nothing special, anything extra. Depending on what you're going to do with your cake pops also kind of depends on the kind of cake that you use. If you want to use chocolate or white or yellow or things like that. If you're going to use a lighter colored chocolate to cover your cake pop, then you want to use a lighter color of cake. If you have a darker chocolate that you're using, then you can use a dark or a white cake mix. Okay, so we're going to take our fork here, and I'm just going to crumble this up. You can use a fork, you can use your hands, you can use a spoon, whatever method you want to use. I've even been able to use my food processor. That goes really fast, and it gets a kind of even texture crumb to everything. So really, however you want to do it works best. Okay, so we've crumbled this up really nicely. Now, if you've been online and looked up cake pops or anything like that, you've probably read a couple recipes where it says take some cake and then take like a half a cup of icing and mix it all together, and I personally don't like that. It makes the cake pop way too sweet with all that extra frosting. It's a fun way to add different flavors, like if you had a carrot cake with some cream cheese frosting mixed into it and then dipped in chocolate, that can be really yummy. But in this case, I'm just going to do this. If, however, your cake is a little bit crumbly and dry, then you could use some frosting to help add some moisture into it. That would work really well, but I've got a pretty moist cake here today, so we don't have to worry about it. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a little handful of this and just start squeezing it together. And you really want to squeeze it very tight and get it really mixed together well. So I've kind of squeezed it together, and now I'm going to roll it. And initially, it's going to start getting crumbly and kind of falling apart, but just keep rolling, keep smushing it together, and eventually it will come together. So we're just going to roll this. Okay, it's coming together now. And if you roll on kind of the palm of your hand, not on the center, but on the palm right here on the edge, you get a better round cake ball. If you roll in the middle, it's going to be kind of ovalish with little points and everything. So you want to make sure you roll kind of on the palm of your hand. If you don't keep rolling and sticking it together, usually when you're done rolling it into a ball, it's kind of lumpy and everything. If you just want a nice, smooth, round cake ball, just keep rolling it and keep working on it until it gets all nice and ready. Okay, so we're going to do one white, and we'll do a chocolate one here. The best way to understand how many cake pops you're going to get out of a regular recipe of cake, you could take any recipe, box mix, whatever size you want. However many cupcakes you can get out of that recipe, times 2 is pretty much how many cake balls you're going to get. I can get 2 cake balls out of 1 cupcake. And so another way to measure your cake pops is just cut one of these in half and then roll those sections together. If you want an even, uniform size cake ball, then that's a really great way to do it. Otherwise, just use your hands. So this is an 8-inch cake right here. I usually, out of this recipe, get about 24, 28 cupcakes out of it. And so times that by 2. Okay, do the math really quick here. It's about 52 or so there. And so I'll have about 52 cake pops. For that amount, you want to have at least 2 pounds of melting chocolate, but we'll get into the chocolate here in a second. Okay, so I've rolled my chocolate cake ball here. Put that aside. And we'll wipe off my hands. It gets really sticky and messy, So you can use gloves, you can use your hands. I highly recommend washing and drying your hands in between maybe every 3 or 4 cake balls. It tends to get really sticky and stuck to your hands, and then you get not this nice pressed look to it. You get kind of a choppy, all the crumbs stick to it. Yeah, it's just not very nice and smooth. So I highly recommend washing and drying your hands in between so that you don't have anything on your palms while you're rolling the cake pops. Okay, so we'll set this aside really quick. And we're going to stick our stick into our cake ball. Now normally you would take these cake balls or cake pops and put them in the refrigerator after you've rolled them into a ball and let them stay in there for about 10 or 15 minutes just to kind of firm up. A firmer cake ball makes a better dipped cake ball. So if you want to have a good result, you'll want to refrigerate those for just a few minutes. Okay, so first you're going to take your melting chocolate. Now a little bit about the melting chocolate. You can find chocolate pretty much anywhere, but if you're going to dip things into it, you want to make sure it's a melting chocolate, not just regular chocolate. If you go for regular chocolate, it's not going to set up nice and have a nice firm outside coating that you can decorate on and everything. So you want to make sure that you find melting chocolate. Also, chocolate bark, the almond bark works really well. Anything that's pretty much advertised as being a melting chocolate works really great. You can check out Funfinity. They sell a lot of great melting chocolate in all different colors, flavors as well. They've got this really great lemon yellow one. So yummy, especially when you add it with the chocolate cake inside. Very, very yummy. White, if you want to make your own colors, you can tint the white with a candy color. Now you want to make sure that when you're using any kind of coloring with the chocolate, that it's a oil-based candy coloring. If you use kind of a paste food coloring, then you're going to find that it seizes up your chocolate because it's made with water. It's water-based rather than the oil-based candy coating or coloring. The colors are typically on the softer side, so you'll have to use quite a bit to make your white turn into like a deep purple or something like that. And so that's why I prefer to buy the pre-colored melting chocolates so that I don't have to use my whole bottle just to make it a bright yellow or something. You can always tone it down by adding some white chips to it, some white melting chips. That works really well. Whatever you want to do. Okay, so we'll put those aside. So the first thing you're going to do is take your stick, and depending on how you're going to decorate it is what color you want to use. If I'm going to be dipping these into chocolate afterwards, then I can go ahead and use my chocolate here. If I wanted to dip it into like a white coating or yellow or something, then I would dip this first in white, and I'll show you what I'm going to do here. So we're going to dip the stick just a tiny bit here and get a little bit of chocolate, and then we're going to stick it into our cake ball as far as it'll go before it comes out the other side. And then you're going to stick this in the refrigerator. Now, a lot of people say different things. They will stick it in first like this and then dip it all the way in. I like to harden up that stick inside of the cake ball first by sticking it into the refrigerator so that it doesn't come off of my cake ball later on. Really, it just depends on what your preference is. I'm going to grab my white here and stick my stick in this white, and then stick it into my cake ball. Now the only bad thing about refrigerating this right now is there's a little tiny bit right here of chocolate that didn't go inside, of course, and that's going to harden up, and so then when you dip the cake pop later on, it's going to show this little bit right here. So if you don't care about that too much, then don't worry about it. If you do care, then you'll need to dip your cake pops right after you stick the stick in there. Okay, so these ones right here I've prepared ahead of time, and they've got our hard little piece right here. It's not going to come off of my stick. Sorry, one quick thing about where you can find sticks and everything. You can find them anywhere at Goodies, at Michael's, Robert's, any craft store that carries cake decorating supplies, Funfinity. You can find all different sizes. Here we've got a really large one. This is your normal size, about 4 inches is a really good size. This one works really well. If you want to stagger them though and put them in a bouquet or something, then you can get larger sizes. You can even cut these off at different sizes, so it works out really well. Okay, and some of these say lollipop sticks on them. Some of them say cookie sticks. Either one works really well. Okay, so we've got our cake ball on our stick, and now I'm going to just dip it here into the chocolate. You want to dip it straight down and come back out. You don't want to wiggle it around inside or anything. That's going to make your cake ball fall off the stick. And then I'm just going to tap it very gently on the edge of this little melting pot here and make sure all the excess comes off. You don't want to have it dripping down your stick while it's in the refrigerator or anything like that. Just a little bit more. And everybody has their own way of tapping this, whether it's against the side of the melting pot, whether it's hitting your wrist so that it falls off, whatever you want to do. Okay, and then we're going to take just a little piece of styrofoam, just a craft block of styrofoam, and we're going to stick our little pop in there, and then you would stick this in the refrigerator to help it harden up. Depending on what you're going to do with your cake pop and how you're going to decorate it, you can either decorate it now while it's still soft and have everything stick to it, or you can come back and put chocolate onto your decorations and then stick it onto your cake pop. So whatever you want to do. Okay, this little guy here, we are going to turn him white. We're going to do a little Easter egg. So we're going to dip this one just straight down. That didn't get all the way. There we go. And then come back out. We're just going to tap, tap, tap. When you are getting your supplies and everything ready for dipping your cake pops, you want to make sure that you have a container that is large enough to dip your cake pop all the way down. You don't want to have to turn it on its side or anything so that everything gets completely covered in chocolate. You want to be able to dip completely straight down and then come back out. And with that too, you want to make sure you have melted enough chocolate in there so that it completely covers what you're working on. Okay, so we'll set this one aside in our styrofoam block here, and we'll do one more. We'll do our dark chocolate. This one will be really good. We'll dip that one straight down and straight back out. You want to just tap lightly. You don't want to hit it too hard or else it will fall off. If you do get a cake ball that falls off into your chocolate, that's completely fine. You can just grab a fork or a dipping spoon or something and fish it out of there. You want to make sure that your cake balls are not full of crumbs or having any part of the cake come off into your chocolate. That's going to kind of ruin your chocolate there. And you can try all different kinds of variations. One of my favorites is to do an orange citrus cake and then dip it in this dark chocolate, and it's kind of like those yummy chocolate oranges that you get at Christmas time. Okay, this cake pop, I'm going to turn it upside down and put it on my wax paper here next to me. Depending, again, on what you're going to do and how you're going to decorate your cake pops, you can do that. If you want to have a flat surface on the top of your cake pop so you can put something on there, then it works out to turn it upside down like that. This is another way to display your cake pops. Just the sky's the limit. It's a lot of fun. So I'm going to stick these in the refrigerator, let them harden up for a few minutes, and then we'll be back to show you some simple decorations.